Hello there, I'm Gary Sims and this is Gary Explains. Now I really hope you enjoyed my 10 Linux terminal commands for beginners video. If you haven't seen it, there's a link to it just up here. Now in that video I explained that originally I recorded 15 commands, but the video was just too long, so I cut it off at 10. Now I asked you, did you want to see the other 5? The overwhelming response has been yes, you'd like to see the other 5. So what's coming is the other 5 commands. Now just one quick warning, the video starts abruptly. I haven't re-recorded anything because it's literally, I just cut it off at 10 and kind of just made this second video. So it just literally carries on where the other video left off. So if you want to know 5 more commands for the Linux terminal, please let me explain. Now, of course, if you've got all these long lists of things, for example, if we now look at the male first names, this is from some census data. It tells us that James and John and Robert are the most popular names at the time the census was taken. Now, this is quite a long file. And so if I wanted to find Gary in here, for example, how would I do that? How would I find Gary? Well, one very important command for doing that is the word grep. Okay, so it means to find a text inside a file. So we could do grep Gary, and I'm using capitals because all the names there are in capitals, and then we can do male first names, and it just finds and prints out that one line. So Gary is the 26th most popular name in that list. Now, of course, I could also just search for all the names that have got GAR in it, because maybe there's Gary with 2 R's, for example, or Gareth, or other variations. So, of course, I can now just do grep gar, and here we see we've got Gary, Edgar, Gary with 2 R's, Gareth, and Garrett, and so on. So here we can see all of the variations of those names that have got kind of GAR in them, both at any point in the name. It doesn't say at the beginning or so on. Now, there are advanced commands for grep that we could do that will tell us to search for at the beginning and at the end and so on, and we'll leave that for a different video. One thing I will want to show you though is if you do -I, it means ignore case. So now I can search for Gary in that file, and even though I've typed Gary lowercase, it still found Gary uppercase because it's ignoring the case as it tries to match it. Now we're going to do more about grep in future videos because it is a very powerful command and there's many more things we can do with it, but this is a good way just to see you can search quickly through a file. Now of course we could search through all files, so if we do grep and let's just look for -I ga star.txt, we actually find that there is Michigan is in the states file, of course, there, and then of course there was all these other ones in the names. So that gives us the answer to our search across multiple files. Okay, moving on, there's a few other commands I want to show you. One is called WC, which is for word count. So if I do word count 50 states.txt, this will tell me how many words, how many lines, and how many letters there are in the file. And so we can see that there are 50 lines, 60 words, and 472 letters. And of course, that's handy because there are 50 states, so I'm glad there were 50. And you can pass in some parameters. For example, you can do word count -L, which will only show us the number of lines, and there you can see it comes up and says there are 50. Okay, so now the next one I want to show you is about the processes. Now on a multi-user system where we're using multi-processing, you're running multiple processes at the same time. And at the moment, you can list what processes you're using the PS command. Okay, and at the moment, this tells me 2 things. It tells me I am running bash, which is the name of the command line. Okay, the SH there being for shell. That's what the word is for Linux and Unix. What shell are you using? So I'm using bash. Okay, and it also tells me at the moment that the command was run, a PS command was running. So there were 2 things running, the shell itself and the PS command. Now that just tells me what I'm running in my private area. PS AUX, and now here I get a list of basically everything that's running on my little Raspberry Pi. So as you can see, there are loads of processes running. Okay, the ones in square brackets are kernel processes, just so that you know. They belong to the kernel itself. And then here are all the different user processes that are running. Okay, and this is great for seeing what processes are running. If there's a program that's gone funny, you can kill it. You can change priority of processes. What you can do with processes, we'll leave that again for another video. Now, the reason I've done that is because there's a really important aspect of running processes on Linux, and that is that you can actually start your own processes, and you can actually stop them just about your own private process. Now, one really important way to do that is if you're doing a command like editing a file. Now, I'm going to show you a command called Nano. This is a text editor. It's the most user-friendly text editor. There's another one called Vi or Vim, which I suppose we will also cover in a more advanced video. But let's just look at Nano, and let's edit Nano 50 state, and that gives me a very nice text-based editor here. I can scroll up and down, you know, I can change things and save them and so on. But with Linux, what the great thing is, at this point, I could exit this by saving it and exiting out of it, or I could just suspend this and go back to the command line. And the way you do that is by pressing Control and Z at the same time. Now you'll notice as soon as I did that, it says here there's one stopped process which is called Nano, and that's exactly what's happened. It's stopped. Now I am back now to the command line. I can do ls, I can do cd into downloads and all that kind of stuff. And if I type FG, which means go back to the foreground, bring that task that's in the background to the foreground, it will take me back into Nano. So obviously when we're using desktops, we're used to switching between windows and doing things maybe in a multitasking way, but now with this we can actually do multitasking from the command line. And the great thing is we can do it multiple times. So now if we at nano colors.txt, okay, so here's my list of colors. Okay, and if I come out of that now and go back, I've actually now got two paused jobs in the background. And if I type the word jobs, then I can see both of them there. Look, stopped Nano 50 state and stopped Nano colors. And I can switch to either of them. I can do FG %1 takes me back into the 50 states. And let's do jobs again. And if I want to go back into colors, I do FG %2. Okay, and that now allows me to switch between the different tasks that are running. Now, there are other things you can do with FG from the command line, but I just wanted to show you this idea that you don't have to always exit and save. You can just kind of stop, suspend the job, go and do something else, find that file that you wanted, and then go back into the editor, back into what you were doing to carry on. So that's kind of a Control Z to do it, and then FG to switch back into the task that you have suspended. Okay, as I said, there's lots more we could do with that, and that will be for an advanced video. Now, if you are using Nano, you use Control X. It says so down here on this help bar here. Look, Control X to get it out. Do you want to save it? I'm going to say no, and that just gets me out of there. If I do FG again, I go back into the other one, which is the 50 states one. Control X. Do I want to save it? No, and there I'm back. Now, if I type jobs, I've got nothing suspended at all. And there I am back at my command line. So there you go, 15 really, really useful commands for getting you started on the Linux command line. Well, I really hope you enjoyed those 5 extra commands. Please tell me in the comments below if you'd like to see more videos on the Linux terminal. There's obviously loads more stuff we can cover. This is really just the beginning. Really, I think the next one would be about pipes and redirection. So if you want to know about pipes and redirection, let me know in the comments below. You also know what I'm going to ask. Please subscribe. Do hit that bell notification icon. Become part of the notification squad. Do give it a thumbs up, and do please share this video on social media. Okay, that's it. I'll see you in the next one.